Are you thinking of going to Nurse Practitioner School? Are you hesitant on going to Nurse Practitioner School? Well, I just recently graduated about 15 months ago, and these are the top 5 things that I wish I would have known prior to going to NP school, so stay tuned. Welcome back, Psych Dude family. It's good seeing each and every one of you guys today. Well, this video is going to be cool because I'm going to be going over the top 5 things I wish I would have known prior to going to Psych NP school or just Nurse Practitioner School in general. And honestly, if I would have known these things prior, I probably would have just pushed off Nurse Practitioner School for a little bit longer. But at the same time, I'm glad I didn't know these things because I'm a nurse practitioner and I actually made it. So definitely take these top 5 things into consideration prior to going to Nurse Practitioner School. Enjoy. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified when I do come out with another video, just so you're up to date on all of my videos. And I am going to be starting to schedule and upload more videos coming out soon, just so I can push out way more content for you guys, especially around this time when you're applying to nurse practitioner schools and also applying to jobs as nurse practitioners. So definitely take that in consideration. And if you're not following me already, follow me on Instagram at THEPSYCHDUDE. And make sure you stay until the very end of this video because I'm going to be giving you my number 1 reason or my number 1 thing that I wish I would have known prior to going to Nurse Practitioner School. And it's pretty cool, honestly, and it's something that I wish I would have known, but at the same time, yeah, it is what it is. I went through it already, so enjoy. So the first thing that I wish I would have known prior to going to NP school is how time consuming it is. It's super time consuming, and for me, it was a 2.5-year program, full time. I could have extended that to probably 4 years, but I decided just to knock it out and get it out of the way. It's extremely time consuming. So on certain days I might be there the whole day, or I might have to come back for 2 days on campus, and that's just for like the basic classes until I got into my psych rotation, and that's when the clinical hours started to actually accumulate. So the 3rd semester is when I was accumulating not necessarily clinical hours, but just more experience because we had to interview each other, interview other students. We had to actually go through these mock interviews and go about that, prescribing a medication, why you would want to do this, and then case simulations, things like that for the 3rd semester. So it's pretty time consuming, especially I was there from like 8 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. And then that's when you go into the 4th semester and the 5th semester. The 4th semester is extremely time consuming, but the 5th is really daunting because that's when you're having all of those classes, you're prepping for your boards, and then still having so many clinical hours that you have to get accomplished. Good thing for NPs, you don't have to get as many compared to other specialties or other people, but this within itself is extremely hard because if you're working full-time or even working part-time, you have to knock out pretty much 3 days of your schedule just for school alone, because that includes your classes that you have to take and all of your clinicals, especially if you want to get it done within that semester. So the second thing that I wish I would have known is how many papers we actually have to write. There's so many papers that you have to write, and honestly I thought it was just like, okay, you're gonna have to, yes, you're focusing on your master's portion, but still you have to write like 3 different papers for each class, and sometimes you just feel it's overwhelming because you're just writing and writing and writing, and sometimes you actually have to write like 10-page papers for each of those papers within a 15 to 16 week span, along with all of your clinicals, along with all the case studies you have to do. Don't get me started on how many papers I actually have to write. Being in that MSN portion compared to DNP, I don't think I was writing as much as the MSN portion, but I'm only in my 2nd semester in my DNP program, so definitely take that in consideration. But definitely be prepared to write papers. You're gonna write, and then you're gonna make sure it's an APA format, make sure everything is perfect, because at the end of the program you're actually gonna have like your finals case study or your dissertation or just one of those culminating projects that you actually have to do. So definitely be expected to write. If I knew that, I don't know if I would have gone into it again, because writing is relatively hard, especially when you've been out of school for a while and you don't necessarily know how to put things in APA format, or it just went out the window out of your brain, because that's what happened with me, and then it took me a little bit longer to get into the hang of things with writing the paper. So definitely, like I said, take that into consideration. So the third thing that I wish I would have known is how competitive this is. Honestly, during nursing school, it was like not competitive whatsoever. Like, you'd get along with your RN friends, you knew when things were coming out, you knew when jobs were available, and you knew how to share, how to actually give information, get information in terms of divvying up what to study. But in Nurse Practitioner School, it's a little bit different, and I wish I would have known this, because everything you kind of have to do by yourself unless you have that really tight-knit group of friends. But for the most part, it seems like everyone's relatively independent, because you're just out there, you're just going to school, and then you're working most of the time. So a lot of the things that you're doing, you're kind of doing by yourself, and just like, you can't really divvy up the study guides because everyone just wants to keep within himself. It kind of gives me that mentality of like medical school, where people are so competitive to get the highest grade just so they can get that job, or so they can get into that residency, or they can get into a higher grade to stand out more. Things like that. It felt kind of like that, because other nurse practitioners were always competing with one another, trying to get their best grade, trying to answer one questions over the other, and just stay within themselves, because ultimately they wanted to get that job over someone else, or they actually want to get into the DNP program compared to someone else. So things like that. I wish I would have known this prior, because it shouldn't be like that. It should be like RN school, where you're with your buddies, you're sharing your papers, because at the end of the day, you all want each other to pass. And it didn't seem like that in Nurse Practitioner School, and I wish I did, because it's, like I said, it shouldn't be this way. So the fourth thing that I wish I would have known prior to going to Psych NP school is working full-time is super hard. So luckily enough, I was in the ER, so I had 12-hour shifts. I wasn't in Psych. The reason why I switched over to the ER is because of going into the clinical setting. So when I was doing clinicals, I actually had to designate, so the 4th and 5th semester, I had to designate specific days just for clinicals. So I would go to class Monday, and then I would have Tuesday and Wednesdays where I would actually do my clinicals, so 10 hours each of those days. So I worked night shift at the time, and luckily enough, some days if I wanted to have certain weekends off, I would actually go straight from clinicals to my job. And I got it done, and honestly, if I were looking back at it now, if I didn't need the insurance, especially for my family, I probably would have just went part-time and just called it a day. But going full-time is doable, but it's extremely hard. So I wish I would have known that prior, because everyone always makes it seem like, okay, yeah, you can go to NP school and work full-time, and it's pretty easy, it's manageable. You don't necessarily have to put that much work into it, but they're lying. It's hard, like especially if you work day shift. I don't even know how you're gonna do it, but night shift, they had that flexibility where I can go clinicals and then do my actual job afterwards. So I had that flexibility. So definitely take that into consideration, especially when you are thinking about going to NP school. So the fifth thing that I wish I would have known prior to going to NP school, and probably the one you've been waiting for, because this honestly may have swayed my decision to going back to Nurse Practitioner School, is finding your own preceptor. A lot of the times you actually have to find your own preceptor. Luckily enough for me, I was fortunate enough to be able to have my school find my preceptor for me. So at my school, what happened was you give your resume to your instructor, and then you put on a piece of paper your top 3 your locations that you actually want to work in. So mine was private practice. I wanted to work at the hospital, at the VA, and then you put somewhere else that you want to work, what setting, like the prison or things like that. And luckily enough for me, I got the settings that I wanted, based because you have to do phone interviews, you have to have them pick out your resume, see if they like you or not, things like that. And then I was luckily enough, thank you Lord, that I was able to get the places that I got. But some people weren't fortunate enough. They actually had to go look and find their own location, and if they were going to supply you, they're probably going to put you 3 or 4 hours away from our school. So imagine having to drive 3 or 4 hours just to go to clinicals twice a week. Yeah, no way. If I would have known that I had to find my own preceptor, especially being in psych, I don't know. I don't think I would do it, just because it's relatively hard finding your own preceptor, and I didn't know what resources we had, since this was about 2 or 3 years ago. But now, well, I put my tips. So I just recently released that video on tips to help you find your preceptor fast. So definitely check that video out if you didn't watch that video. But pretty much I explained different resources and different tips to help you find your preceptor. And honestly, I wish I would have came out with that video for my other classmates, because some of my classmates actually had to stay back because they couldn't find their preceptors. And honestly, like I said, I wish I would have known this prior to going to school. This may have swayed me out of nurse practitioner school, but at the same time, I'm glad I didn't know, because I'm a nurse practitioner and I was fortunate enough to have them supply me with a preceptor. Well, this concludes my video. I hope you guys truly enjoyed this video. Like I said earlier, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please click on the bell button to be notified when I do come out with more content, and I promise I'm going to be coming out with more content. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, because these are the type of things that I wish I would have known prior to going to NP school. I might not have been an NP right away. I may have pushed things, or I would have followed up on things, like especially APA format and writing all these papers. I wish I would have just studied upon it before going to NP school, just so I can be familiar with it again. And then at the same time, just like rearranging my schedule just so I can work or save more money prior to going to NP school, not knowing that I might have worked part-time or things like that. I wish I would have known, and I hope this is helpful for all of you guys. So get ready. If you are on this journey to becoming a nurse practitioner, congratulations and good luck, and I hope many of my other videos help you out. And like I said, if you want more content, please comment down below on ideas that you want. And we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, guys. Like I said, at 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be doing that giveaway for the prescriber guide. As always, have a wonderful day, guys. The Psych Dude is out. See ya!